What's up, everybody? I'm back. All right, we're going to grab Dave real quick here on the Skype thingy, and we're going to go get Stephanie Sledge, too, from the governmentrag.com. She's going to fill us in on some excellent stories that she's been doing over the last few weeks. So, with all that said and done, let's get Dave added in here. Got to listen to the ring. All right. Thanks for answering quickly, because I can't stand that ring, man. What's going on, David?
What's happening, Jimmy?
How's the weather up there?
Well, it's warming up, actually. It's been in the 79 the other day.
That's awesome. 83 here today. Yeah, it's like we just skipped right over spring and dove straight into summer. So everybody's sunburned, and you know, lots of people out on the water, and it's going to be a hot one, I think, this year. Starting off in the 80s this early. So, but at least you don't have any snow on the ground, and you're not freezing your butt off, right?
No.
There you go. So,
better. I like it a lot better like this. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. How about you, Stephanie? How's the weather up there? Stephanie. See, we should have checked all the audio stuff before we did the show. I was thinking about that, and then I was like, yeah, she's got it. She's got it. She'll get it figured out in a second. Go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say, it was 79 the other day, then yesterday it was like 50.
Yeah.
That's how it is up here. It's not officially summer up here until the middle of June.
Right. Well, springtime weather's rolling through the plains right now, man. There was tornadoes all the way from Iowa City, Iowa, down to Texas today. So just insane. And it's headed this way, too, sometime tonight. So Reed Timmer's been around, busting out the camera and photographing all kinds of nasty-looking tornadoes ripping up the plains. So, yeah, we were in it. And actually, just kind of devil's advocate type of thing, we're way below average for tornadoes this year so far. So there is that. That could be a little positive. And almost everything that he showed today online was running through farmers' fields and stuff, not hurting anybody and tearing up anybody's shit. So that's a positive too.
That was a big one yesterday over there in Kansas.
Yeah, there was another one today just outside of where'd I see? Norman, Oklahoma, and they said that it was easy F3. So yeah. I
lived in Tulsa for 3 years. I graduated high school right outside of Tulsa, and tornadoes were crazy up there.
Mm-hmm. Yep, living in the Midwest most of my life, been dealing with them a lot. Seen a lot of aftermath when I was driving a semi. Roll into town 20 minutes after a tornado went through there, and just war zone footage. Looks
like I said, Fargo was the first city to ever have an F5.
Yep.
That's still damage up north of me. They say that part of land is kind of haunted by spirits, man. Because a lot of people never got found.
I can believe that. There's a place when I was stationed up in Anchorage, Alaska. There's a place up there in Anchorage called Earthquake Park, where back in the 50s, I think it was, they had a major, like 9.0 bigger earthquake up there, and it sunk a big portion of the city and buried it under all kinds of shit. And they never went in and got any bodies out. They just put a fence up around it, dedicated it to them, and left it go. It's called Earthquake Park. And when you get close to the edge of that thing, you feel something. The little hairs on the back of your neck stand up and all that good shit. So, yeah, it's pretty creepy. You can still see rear ends of cars sticking out of the dirt and chimneys, and, it's just horrible. Stephanie, did you make it on?
I did. Can you hear me and see me?
Yeah. Well, you don't have to do the video thing if you don't want to, because I'm going to be the only one that anybody sees on YouTube. So it saves resources too, and it keeps people from stuttering and stuff like that. So you can cancel the camera if you want. But you're beautiful, so okay. I can sit here and watch you all day. So
thank you. All right, I'm turning it off.
Okay.
If you can hear me, that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good. All right, let's get this show underway. We're going to start off with David, and he's going to run us around the world news and how quick we're going to be falling into World War III or Netanyahu stepping on his dick. One of them. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, first, I want to just, my thoughts and prayers go to those soldiers today that lost their lives in that WC-130 in Georgia. That was insane.
Were they Puerto Rican? Or were they Americans on the plane?
Puerto Rican National Guard.
I knew that plane was from there. I didn't know who was on board, though. I didn't know if it was American troops or if it was Puerto Rican troops. Doesn't really matter.
Puerto Rican. But it took off with a full tank of gas, and that thing went down like a bomb.
The guy they had. I read a thing on RT. They had one eyewitness guy that said that from the time he saw the plane, it looked like it was in trouble because it was just right over the treetops, and then he said it just bellied down onto the interstate and burst into flames.
I posted a video on my Facebook where it come down nose first.
Oh, did it? He didn't.
Nose first, and then about 5 seconds later it was just a mushroom cloud. They said that there was 9 military people on there. 5 of them died. 4 of them are missing in action. Basically, they got incinerated.
Yep. Not going to be able to find the body parts.
What a horrific death.
Man.
I mean, you could tell it was complete engine failure. Thing went up and just came down like a dart.
They started building them back in the 50s. I don't know when this plane was built, but the majority of them that are in the sky are pretty fucking old. They don't, they might update parts on them and stuff like that, but the airframes are old. So I was jumping out of that shit back when I was in the Army. That's what we jumped out of, mostly Hercules and C-140 Starlifters.
Yeah, they had them over by a base when I was in San Diego, over by the air base. They had a couple of them over there.
Yeah, it's horrible, man. Especially when they're trying to do their best for their country. I guess that's what they think anyway. Statists, but hey, not going to throw any stones at them. All right, what's going on with World War III? Bibi Netanyahu's talking a lot of shit, and Iran said they're going to kick him in the teeth. So.
Well, they're waiting for 2 things to happen here. They're waiting for elections in Lebanon on Sunday, and they're waiting to see what Trump's going to do about the Iran nuclear deal on May 12th. They said this is what's holding Iran back right now. They don't want to influence the elections in Lebanon. And, they want to wait and see what Trump's going to do, and who knows what he's going to do with that deal. I think he's going to pull out of it myself. They said talking about renegotiating, but who are you going to renegotiate with? Everyone else wants to stay in except America.
You talking about the Paris Accord or the Iran deal?
Well, I'm talking the P5+1 deal with Iran.
There was nothing ever signed. There's no signed deal.
It wasn't signed. I agree with that.
So this is all hyperbole. This is all moot point. Backing out of the deal. There was no fucking deal. How are you going to back out of a deal when there was no deal to begin with?
Europe don't want to get rid of it because they're making money off of it. This whole deal with Iran was basically making money from that. They got money from us, and then they went over to Europe and spent a bunch in Europe. Yep. It's a financial deal for Europe to stay into this. To me, it doesn't matter either way. I think it's kind of a bad deal, especially when Obama sent those pallets of cash over there.
Yeah. I thought that his PowerPoint display was kind of weak. He said the same shit that he said back in 2012 and offered no proof whatsoever.
Well, I'll say this about Netanyahu. He's been prime minister off and on in Israel since the mid-'90s.
He's trying to keep his ass out of jail right now.
Well, right now he is. But the deal is, I started my whole venture in 2000 with Iran and Israel, my whole in-game project, everything that I ran for a long time.
Yep.
And he's been saying this since the mid-'90s. Iran's this close to a bomb. Iran's this close to a bomb. He's been trying to find an American president to give him the green light, and he found that in Trump. And so after all these years of pushing him, with Bolton just put in his national security advisor, and with Pompeo just sworn in today, Trump's got his war cabinet now. And so Israel, Israel's been hitting over in Syria, they said over 100 times already since the Syrian war began. 100 times already, just about, in the 7 years it's been happening. Doing covert ops, everything else over there. And so, now that Israel's looking at Iran moving into Syria as building a front force toward Israel. This is what I tell everybody. The difference between Netanyahu saying over and over since the mid-'90s that, he wants a piece of Iran is that this time it's different because Iran's in Syria. And so Netanyahu looks at this.
They're in Syria fighting ISIS.
Yeah, I know that. You're not telling me nothing I don't know.
I know. I'm just throwing it out there for anybody that wants to watch later. I just don't. And why wouldn't we say something to Israel about killing the guys that are trying to kill ISIS, since we're over there trying to kill ISIS too? I don't know. It's like a big Ouroboros. Go ahead.
That strike Israel did on last Sunday was a massive strike, or was it Sunday or the other day? And they hit like 13 targets in one area. And they leveled the place, and they killed about 24 Iranians, a couple high-level Iranian officers. So Israel is directly poking Iran over in Syria now. And this is going to get going, and very soon.
What do you think Iran's going to do? I mean, they're talking to.
Well, the deal is, Iran, they're coming out saying, well, we've got Syria on our side, we've got Hezbollah on our side, which Hezbollah is a big force. They're an army within itself. They're a proxy group of Iran. Hezbollah was put over in Lebanon to be a resistance against Israel, like Hamas is over in the Gaza Strip. Hamas is a proxy group of Iran, too. But Hezbollah has 130,000, 150,000 rockets and missiles and modern type, ballistic, long range, medium range, short range, all ballistic, right. Chemical weapons, and they've got them all pointed at Israel over in southern Lebanon. Well, now Hezbollah's over in the Golden Heights in Syria. So Israel looks at they're facing Hezbollah on two fronts now. And then Iran moved in, and Israel's like, holy shit. The people we hate the most are just building up all around us now. And so they're getting ready to lash out. Israel is getting ready to lash out, and they're going to hit. They won't go after Russia, just like America won't. But
But Russia is probably feeling the same thing that Israel's feeling, right? Because, I mean, we've got them surrounded too.
So, Putin's playing a game here. Putin, it was kind of hitting around the other day. He's there to protect Assad from terrorists, not to protect Assad from an invading country.
Well, yeah.
And that's pretty much what Putin said the other day.
But he also said, if anybody flies over the border, we're going to shoot your ass out of the sky.
Well, it's like the other day. This was the trickery that Israel pulled, us and Israel pulled the other day on this strike this last Sunday. Israel, when they usually hit Syrian targets, or Iranian targets, or Hezbollah targets, they usually fly up the Mediterranean, up Lebanon, up toward northern Lebanon, and fire from Lebanese airspace into Syria. Yep. Very seldom have they flown into Syrian space. They did that one time, and their jet got shot down.
Yep.
So they usually fly up and fire from Lebanese airspace. Well, this last massive strike that killed all these Iranian soldiers and high-level officials and ruined about 200 long-range rockets and missiles that Iran had.
And registered a 2.6 on the Richter scale.
Yeah, they used bunker busters.
Mm-hmm.
And the deal is this time around, Israel came out of Jordan from the American air base over there.
Mm-hmm.
And went under American call signs.
Which is why everybody thought it was the British and the Americans that did the strike. Yep.
That's right. And that's why the air defense didn't come after us. Because they thought, well, it's Americans in the deconfliction area over here. And so, and so Israel flew into our deconfliction zone where there's no air defense over from Russia or Syria or anybody, because it's our area over there, and Russia's got their area and Syria's got theirs. All this deconfliction stuff we all agreed on.
So we're occupying a part of Syria? Is that what you're saying? It's our area? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Right on the Iraqi, Syrian, Jordanian border. And so we let Israel fly into that area that we're controlling and fire from there and turn around and fly back. They used 4 F-16s. 3 of them fired. One of them was a decoy just in case. And they fired from there and then turned around, flew back through Jordan, landed there, and back up to Israel.
Hmm.
That's the sneaky shit going on now. And so Israel is going to do this. You know, if Trump pulls out of this deal, Iran's pretty much said they're going to drop out of it already because America can't be a reliable partner anymore.
Right. Anymore?
France,
Go ahead, sorry.
You know, France came out and Germany too and said that the only alternative to this deal, if we pull out, is war. Russia and China said the same thing too. Israel and Iran are fixing to go at it. Saudi Arabia is going to be with Israel.
So what do you think, just off the top of your head, what do you think the Iranian strike is going to consist of?
You know, I don't know. Israel is saying now that before, when this war started and Hezbollah went over to Syria from Lebanon, that Iran was sending, these long-range rockets to Hezbollah, for them to use against Israel. And then Israel found out, started blowing them up. Well, then once Iran started moving its troops in there and its Shiite-backed forces, it started sending in more heavy-range stuff, but not for Hezbollah, but to fortify Iranian positions over in Syria. So that's Israel's red line. They're like, you're fortifying yourself. You're building a frontline force against you. We're going to take care of it. According to Netanyahu, he's went to Russia and talked to Putin, and Putin's like, I have no pull over Iran. I can't tell them to do anything. They're there on the invitation of Assad, and Iran's going to do what it's going to do. I'm staying back.
Right. Which is smart.
Which is smart. And the deal is we're going to let Saudi and Israel and Iran and Hezbollah just go at it. Syria is going to be the battleground. It's already fucked up, and it's fixing to get fucked up even more because there's fixing to be a war that a lot of your analysts saying that this war is coming. It's going to be the biggest war the Middle East have seen since the 1967 Six-Day Israeli War, where Israel took all that land in 6 days. They say this is going to be bigger. And this is going to suck all your players in over there. This is your finishing blow to the Middle East.
Finishing blow.
And the deal is, like I said, there's two big things happening this month. One is moving the American embassy officially to Jerusalem. Trump's talking about making an appearance in Jerusalem for that. There's some other world leaders that are moving their embassies there that are going to be there for the reception of that. That's going to be a huge thing. The second big thing is this JCPOA deal that Trump most likely will drop out of, and that'll seal the deal of the war with Iran. Russia's going to have to make up their mind what they want to do about this. They don't got enough troops in Syria to fight off Israel and Saudi and America at the same time. And so Putin's in a position there. But another big thing is like I said, he's going to make his move on Ukraine, I think. And Poroshenko just came out, and the American embassy said they officially got their anti-tank missiles now that Trump did deliver, and they're in the possession of Ukrainian army now over by Donbass and everything, where they can start blowing up tanks. That was a big red line for Putin, because now we're fully funding the Ukrainian army against these rebels over there that Russia's backing.
Aren't we like $25 trillion in debt? Okay, that's another rabbit hole, I reckon. They just print the money. This ought to be a wake-up call to all you people out there that still pay your taxes to this federal government. They don't need your fucking money, right? They don't need your fucking money. They print as much money as they want to do, as they want to print, and they do whatever they want to do with it. They don't need your fucking money. So stop paying taxes to this odious organization that is the military-industrial complex run by the Vatican and the City of London. Break it down, that's what it is, basically. So.
And then Israel came out there, our U.S. came out today and officially said that Israeli nukes not up for debate until state is recognized by Arab neighbors. That's what America came out, the State Department today. That Israeli nukes are not up for debate until state is recognized by Arab neighbors.
Whatever.
Trump is fully in the Zionist pocket.
We've been saying that before he was elected.
He's the biggest Zionist president these people have had. He supports Israel more than any other president supported them. He is completely apex ass.
Anybody that thinks that he's not corrupted by the deep state is just they're lying to themselves.
Oh yeah, he is up apex ass.
Mm-hmm.
He fully and 100% absolutely supports Israel. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. Everybody looks at it different. But the deal is he's being run by the Zionist bankers. He's being run by the Rothschilds. Henry Kissinger's his best friend. Kissinger's controlled by the Rothschilds.
Yep.
Just like Soros is controlled by the Bilderbergs.
And the Rothschilds are controlled by the Vatican. You know that,
yep.
right? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Just wanted to make sure that we got that dot connected.
You know,
Stephanie, feel free to add into any of this, Stephanie, if you want to throw in your 2 cents worth, please.
I definitely agree. I definitely agree that he's not only a puppet, but he's also a player. And, this is, Americans were duped during the election, and it was just another rigged election. And the only goal was for this.
Your audio is breaking up fierce, Stephanie. Fierce. Like you're going straight digital. Only caught about 10 words out of that. Are you on Wi-Fi?
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, I had my earplugs in, so maybe that was why.
Nope.
Yeah, what I was saying was that I agree with what you're both saying, and Trump is both a player and a puppet, and he's been groomed for this position, and it seems like the nation has been duped again, and the war is business, and we are getting ready to go into a huge war, and I agree that this could be the prelude to World War III, and people need to wake up now. But war is business, and everything in the world seems to be wrapped around and tied to war. And I seen an article today that talked about that there are Congress people that want a blank check for Trump for war. And so I think people need to wake up. I mean, during the Obama administration, he set it up for the draft, not only for men, but for women as well. And so, I mean, we are really, really looking at some hostile times coming up.
Yesterday, the Knesset gave Bibi the full-on, he can declare war at any time for any reason without their authority. All he has to do is talk to his minister of defense.
Yep.
So that's like, and so now we've got Xi Jinping is the grand ruler of China. They want Donald Trump to be the grand ruler of the United States. Now Bibi's the grand ruler of Israel because he can do whatever the fuck he wants. This is just, it's off the chain, people.
Yeah, it's definitely off the chain. It's scary times in this country, and I think one of the most soothing things is that people are starting to wake up, more people, faster, and that's the job of you and I and people like us, is to collect people into the truth and get this out as fast as possible. And it seems like that we're living in times that, I mean, I would have never guessed, that at one time in my life, America was the greatest thing in the world. We live in a free country, but now we all are starting to understand that we do not live in a free, and that wars they've been going on, and they've been going on in this country
about every 10 years.
So long.
About every 10 years, we go into a major war. So
yeah, and they've built business around war, so we can't. If they stop the wars, then so do the jobs.
See, I harken back to when I thought that the United States was the greatest thing since sliced bread too. We all reminisce back to when we were kids and we didn't have any worries and everything was going great and everybody was making money and jobs, and we were delusional. We were completely brainwashed into believing all that bullshit. That's the truth. That's the truth. Because this shit's been going on for well over 100 years. They've been running everything. They've been, so that's that. What else you got over there? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I think someone told me the other day, and I haven't looked this up to double check it, but someone told me the other day that out of, America since 1776, that we haven't been in war. We've only been at peace for 22 years since 1776.
Mm-hmm. And every year, just like clockwork, they re-sign the War Powers Act or whatever the fuck it is that keeps us in a state of war. Even if we're not actively in a war with anybody at the time, they still go ahead and sign it just in case they want to drop a bomb on somebody. So, and now, since the NDAA has been passed, right, now they can just declare war on ISIS or on drugs or on, the serfs, whatever. They can just do whatever they want. Okay. Moving on.
Totally.
It is. It's mind-boggling how little attention that we have paid over our lifetimes. I'm 50 years old, and to look back, I shake my head at myself daily. Why did you just wake up? In the last 15 years is when I woke up. Whatever. Moving on. David, what else you got over there as far as World War headlines?
I thought this was a big story today. It says, U.S. judge orders Iran to pay $6 billion to families of 9/11 victims.
Iran?
It says a federal U.S. judge has ordered Iran to pay $6 billion to families of the victims of 9/11 after he found various government entities were accountable in the attacks. And so they found Iran responsible for 9/11, not Saudi. And so this is adding to the Iranian fuel. I'm sure they're ready to explode after this.
Well, what kind of a federal judge in the United States has absolutely zero authority over anyone in Iran, let alone the Iranian government? The Iranian government can look at that federal judge and go, fuck off, dude.
Well, that's what they said in the story. They said they doubt that Iran will pay.
Duh.
But it's going in the books that Iran was partially responsible for 9/11.
It's the just us system. So, yeah, I believe that like I believe the Tooth Fairy.
They said that on purpose. This is just more fire to go after Iran.
I'm surprised they didn't tie Russia into it.
Give them time.
Yeah. Russia. Okay.
Let me say this was a real big thing that a lot of people didn't catch the other day. When Mike Pompeo, the leader of the CIA, was changed to the Secretary of State. When he was nominated the other day, and he was sworn in today, but he was fully nominated the other day. The first thing he did within an hour of being sworn in is he flew directly to Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. He flew directly to Israel. He flew directly to Jordan, and then he flew back home.
And performed his duties.
Oh, and he flew to NATO too. But the deal is, it's a red dot. When you see him going straight to Saudi and straight to Israel, two main players in this war coming up with Iran, and then straight to Jordan, where our biggest underground air base is. So they're planning this war with Iran, and Israel's, like I said, is going to have the green light. And it's going to be, they're saying that this bunch of Israeli officials came out yesterday and said that May is going to be the biggest, the most pivotal month in Israeli history.
I'm telling you right now that if Bibi gets his ire up and starts this conflict, he is going to, the people of Israel are going to pay a fucking huge price, man. A huge price. Because no matter what, if we come to their defense or not, that country is still going to get bombed to hell.
Well, they said Hezbollah alone, like I said, has got enough rocket and missiles to drop missiles on Israel for 3 to 4 months straight. But, they say that between the Iron Dome, and the Patriot missile batteries, other anti-missile batteries they have there, plus our ships in the Red Sea and the Mediterranean doing a ballistic missile shield over Israel. We'll have 3 ships in the Mediterranean, 3 ships in the Red Sea, and we're going to throw a ballistic. They said even with all that in place, within those 3 months, Israel will probably still get hit at least 1,200 times.
Oh, it'll be a lot more than that, man, because our technology is poop. If we think we couldn't shoot a fucking ballistic missile out of the sky 2 months ago when they tried it from California. So fuck. Okay. They can talk all the shit they want, man. I'm telling you right now, our military is not up to this task. Period.
We have a base in Israel now too, with several hundred troops on it, man. Maybe more than that. Who knows? There's probably some secret bases over there. I wouldn't be surprised. I know we keep a weapons cache over there.
Mm-hmm. But so, then, you know when push comes to shove, and you know, Jerusalem starts getting hammered, and the rest of Israel starts getting hammered with all these fucking bombs, then somebody's going to get a wild hair up their ass and launch a fucking nuke out of Israel toward Iran, and then Katie bar the door, man.
Well, it's like I said, I know there's just one big war guy I follow, and he writes a lot of good stuff, and he says, you know, we're not for sure absolutely how World War III is going to begin, but the ending has already been written, and everybody knows what that is.
Yeah, sticks and stones.
And that's exactly what he said. He said, we may not know how it's going to exactly start, but we definitely know how World War III is going to end. And that's a chilling thought. It really, truly is. It's a chilling thought. And
massive depopulation. Massive depopulation.
You know, no one wins in a nuclear war, man.
Nope.
No one wins in a biological war.
Nope.
And it just won't be nukes. It'll be biologicals, too. Chemical weapons, biologicals.
And a lot of civilians are going to die.
A lot of people are going to die. It's a lot. You know, and you go back to the Georgia Guidestones, we want under 500 million people in this world. That's a lot of depopulation, man.
How long we've been talking about this, dude? 10 years?
Yep.
10 years? We've been talking about
like
that?
I said, the only thing that makes this really ominous to me is now that Iran's in Syria, right next door to Israel, this is a whole different ball game than before.
Mm. And the fact that everybody's doing all their secret phone calls and secret meetings, and you know that's not good. It's not going to lead to anything
the move
good.
That Pompeo made the other day by flying to those three countries, and you know.
I wonder if he didn't have some spooge on him when he got home. Had to clean his uniform.
You know, Saudi's been wanting to fight Iran because they support the Houthis over in Yemen. You know, Israel wants a piece of Iran because they support Hezbollah and Hamas and Islamic Jihad over in the Gaza Strip. You know, and that's going to be a big thing, too. The Palestinians have already done, 3 weeks of rage on every Friday for the last 3 Fridays, building up to when they've moved the embassy to Jerusalem in about a couple more weeks. And that's going to be massive. There's going to be a lot of Palestinians getting killed, a lot. And that's going to bring on some retaliation from Iran and maybe some other Muslim countries over there. Mm-hmm. That's going to be a massive thing when they do that embassy. The Palestinians are going to fucking riot. Literally, they're going to riot. They're going to bust out the West Bank. They're going to bust out of the Strip, and there's going to be some shit go down.
All right, brother. Grab two more headlines that you think are very pertinent for right now, and then we're going to turn the rest of the show over to Steph. She's got like 3 stories that she wants to go over, and all of them are very pertinent and important to today's. And I don't get her on very often. I think the last time I had her on was 3 years ago. So,
that's fine with me, man.
Right on. Go ahead and grab 2 more, and we'll get those out of the way, and then we'll let her take the floor.
All right, Mike Pompeo came out today after he got sworn in. He was asked about North Korea. And he says North Korea must dismantle their whole weapons program, talking about not just the nukes, but their chemical weapons, too. So now we're throwing the chemical weapons in there on top of it. They've got one of the biggest chemical weapons programs in the world.
As far as we say.
As far as we say. But but the deal is, it just doesn't involve getting rid of nukes. It's the whole weapons of mass destruction program that North Korea is accused of having.
Well, didn't him and Moon already come to that conclusion anyway?
I don't know. Moon's pretty much just been talking about him and Kim, reuniting North and South Korea.
He did say that no military was going to leave the South Peninsula.
Yeah, Moon said our troops will not leave the DMZ no matter what, if there's a peace deal or not.
Well, and he said that they're not getting rid of any U.S. troops either. The U.S. troops are going to stay in place.
Yeah, they're going to stay. They said our troops were never on the table in this, and they never will be.
Yeah.
And that North Korea knows this, that Pompeo told them that South Korea told them that, and that Kim's all right with that. But the question is he going to dismantle his nuclear weapons? I don't think so.
Personally, I think that everybody's working behind the Americans' back.
Yeah. Well, this is my other speculation on this is when he went to China a couple weeks ago out of the blue, I think China told him, listen, dude, get rid of your nukes. We got your back. We don't want a war over here. You know, Trump's crazy enough to bring this over here. We don't want it. And so get rid of your nukes. And if Trump does bring his war to you, we got your back. I think that's what China told him. I think that's what changed him is he's got China's full support now.
And then I think that Lil Kim, when he had his talk with Moon, told him the same thing. You know, we're going to squash all this, but if the Americans start any bullshit, you got to know that China's going to come rolling through here like a fucking...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe even Russia.
Yeah. So, and Moon probably said, well, I can't stop a raging bull.
So, you know, and so they're hoping that, you know, who knows what's going to happen with this. And I don't see him getting rid of it. You know, and then he's going to have to also accept IAEA inspectors in there, you know, for the long, long time to watch him dismantle everything and make sure he doesn't rebuild it. You know, it's already was announced today that he's pulling what they call the steel cables out of his nuclear testing sites, which is a sign of shutting them down. So it looks like he's keeping his word on that. Now, that one nuclear base has collapsed.
Yeah.
From their last nuclear test. China put that out, and they said that that's going to be a hard one. They said that that's just buried radiation right now. And as soon as we dig in there, it's going to contaminate everything.
Well, the entire state of Nevada is the same fucking way, right? I mean, there's still pockmarks all over that shit. So, yeah, whatever. That's no big deal. Hell, Japan's got a nuclear reactor that's been dumping shit in the ocean for 7 fucking years. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. But still, it's collapsed, and so there's no way to absolutely take that one offline.
And they said like 200 people died in the collapse. I saw the satellite photos, and to the best of my knowledge, I couldn't visually see any collapsed mountain. But whatever.
Yeah, I seen it too. I didn't know if I was looking at the right thing or not.
They didn't have it circled with a highlighter or anything, so I was just looking. I was like, I don't see any fucking big dent in the ground, because you'd think it'd be a big dent in the ground. But I don't know. It might just be a little tunnel and it fell in. I don't know. Coal mines have collapsed all over the place, and you can't visually see that from the surface either. So anyway.
And North Korea has announced tonight they're releasing all 3 of our American prisoners over there. So Kim said he's keeping his word to Trump. That was one of our preconditions for talks with him, is that he release all of our hostages over there. And he's releasing them.
Well, wasn't there like I'm sorry, Stephanie, I'm stepping on your time. I promise. A couple minutes. Didn't Otto Warmbeer's parents file suit against Kim?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, man. You know, I didn't believe this story from the word go. Otto Warmbier. His last name is Warmbier. Warmbier. I don't know. I didn't buy that from the beginning. I didn't buy it at all. The fact that they took him hostage, maybe. The fact that they sent him back home in a coma and he died, I don't get it. No, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. But whatever. They filed suit against him. And then somebody filed suit against the United States today, too, for human rights violations or some shit. I don't know. I just caught a little blurb of it a few hours ago.
North Korea did.
Oh, is that what it was? Oh.
Yeah, because we accused them of atrocity, so they turned around today and accused us of atrocity, saying that we're going around shooting each other on the streets and we're a bunch of rednecks with guns.
Yeah, the cops have killed almost 1,000 people this year, and the year's only half over, not even.
Yeah. Well, North Korea brought up all of our mass shootings, said that we're all just a bunch of crazy Americans with guns killing each other.
No way!
In a way, he may be right.
Yeah. No.
That's all I got.
All right. Stephanie Sledge. thegovernmentrag.com. If you guys don't follow the Government Rag on Facebook or go subscribe to her site, you should, because her and her husband, is it husband, boyfriend? You guys married yet?
He is my partner.
Oh, okay. Partner. Her and her partner put out some fantastic researched stories.
Thank you.
And we're going to dive into 3 of them right now. You sent me 3. I don't know. We'll the floor is yours, so you can pick the topic and take off on it. And I'm sure that Dave and I will have questions.
Okay. Well, first of all, I really enjoyed all the time that you guys discussed the prelude to World War III. And I think you're absolutely right. And, like I said before, these are really scary times. And the articles that I did send to you, these are behind the scenes things that keep introducing more reasons to bring us to war. Not only war as far as foreign wars, but also domestic wars. And, I think that you're quite aware, Jim, as far as like the false flags and what's been happening here in America and, our phony drug war. And, I've been following a lot of that. And so, we do write at the Government Rag a lot about what's happening with false flags, but we write more about not only about what's happening with the false flags or evaluating the false flags, but we also write about and uncover the agenda behind the false flags.
Yeah,
and
who's facilitating these? That's where we need to take everything, and that's what you guys do over the Government Rag. You try to find out who's behind the bullshit, because there's a ton of fuckery going on, and we want to know who's responsible.
Well, exactly. And I'll tell you right up front, there's also a divide of alternative media right now. Like, not only have the Zionists, they've infiltrated, they have total control over the media and they're all of these people, all of these leaders that we have in this country, they all have big investments in war. And so not only are they profiting off of war, but they also have, there's a big agenda behind it. And we do try to uncover that. And it is quite interesting to find out, the players that are involved and to actually connect them to the things that are happening, especially in our country, and then find out exactly what it is behind the scenes that they're doing. And so, like, recently, I'll just give you some examples here. Like, we'll start off with the drug war. Like, I wrote an article.
The war on people?
It's called...
That's basically what it is. It's not the war on drugs. It's the war on people.
It is the war on people. And it's the war on our country. And I wrote an article. The drug war is one of the big things right now. That is, I call it... the drug war is actually a way to deceive people. It keeps people occupied with something that they feel there are victims involved. And so as long as they can continue the drug war and put on the front page of every, AP paper, all the overdoses and such, then that keeps people occupied on thinking that, there needs to be more police state, there needs to be more action taken against, the war on drugs. And so what's really happening is that there's a police state that's growing within our country, and it's been growing for quite a while. And in fact, there's more people in prison in America than in the entire world. And, a lot of it has to do with the drug war. And during the Obama administration, he built a service industry. He built America into one of the biggest service industries. And when you actually uncover what that service industry is, it actually involves a drug war. It's all about growing the service industry into prisons and private prisons, growing the probation offices, processing people through the court system so that, the bills can continue to get paid. also growing the military-industrial complex, medical establishments. So
DHS.
during the time that Obama was in administration, he gave lots of grants and built the service industry so that people would major in jobs that had to do with security and that had to do with the medical establishment. And when you follow all that back, it all really does have to come back to the drug war. And so, it's just a way to keep people coming back for more. What they're doing is they're building a bigger police state. And the sad part is most people, the majority of people are so dumbed down that they do not understand how the drug war works. They don't understand who's actually behind the scenes dealing the drugs. And so what they do is...
The CIA.
Go ahead.
The CIA is the major drug dealer in the United States. They bring in like 95% of the heroin and about 90% of the cocaine that comes into this country is through Mena, Arkansas. If you guys don't know about Mena, Google it. Well, use DuckDuckGo, but you know what I mean. Search it out.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it's also a commodity that's it's traded globally, and
absolutely.
So it spawns off into many countries, and a lot of people, they don't understand. One of the saddest things is when you hear people, what they did was when they built this giant police state and they built all of this service industry around it, they also made these people that are working in these jobs, they actually made them the heroes. So everybody worships the police, they worship 911, they worship firefighters, they worship, the ambulance drivers, they worship people that are nurses and doctors. And so what they did was they actually, it was the greatest business plan actually ever, as far as building us into the most giant police state. And so what they did was they built an industry to keep coming back for more, which is, the slogan for AA, keep coming back for more. And that's what they've done. And it's really sad because most people in America, they go on and they continue to think that we're in this war to, we're over there in Afghanistan and we're trying to fight, the terrorists, but really we're over there and what we're doing is we're actually guarding the poppy fields, and those poppy fields are, very important for the drug trade because
that's where 95% of the heroin comes from.
Yeah, absolutely. And so,
when we landed on the ground in Afghanistan, one of the first things that the Air Force did was bring the opium farmers fertilizer. They had plane loads of fertilizer taken over from the United States to Afghanistan to increase the poppy production. From the time that the United States military landed in Afghanistan, the poppy production has exponentially risen every single fucking year.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's more than just opium in Afghanistan. Like, they have rare... there's
lithium.
A lot of rare minerals.
Lithium's in the ground there.
In fact,
they've got all kinds of gold. Yep. Sorry, go ahead.
In fact, there's over approximately $1 trillion in rare minerals, earth minerals, including like copper, iron ore,
lithium.
There's aluminum, gold, silver, zinc, mercury, lithium. But also, too, after 9/11, when 9/11 was the lowest as far as in 2001, Afghanistan produced the lowest opium poppy cultivation. But then after 9/11, when we declared war and we sent our troops over to Afghanistan, you're right. It has grown unbelievably. In fact, in 2001, it was less than 5,000 hectares. And then by 2016, it was up to 200,000.
Yeah,
so, there's a lot of money to be made in heroin. And so they have to keep that going. and heroin's not just the only thing with the drug trade. Like next, it'll go back to another drug, whether it's crack or cocaine or now marijuana, as the pharma drug dealers, they've actually won. They actually have acquired the market now in marijuana, and so and that should be, Americans should be very suspicious of that as well, because now marijuana is in the hands of the pharma drug dealers, and now that it's in the hands of the pharma drug dealers, there's a lot of things that, in order for someone to get a prescription for marijuana, you have to go through the process of actually admitting that you have a mental illness. And then by admitting that, you are not able to own a weapon. So that's also a way to disarm Americans as well.
They like their pot, man. I imagine that probably half the gun owners out there that want to get a medical marijuana card would willingly give up their weapons to get that medical marijuana card so that they can sit down with their friends and smoke a joint.
And the sad thing is that there are people that will do that, and those people think that we live in times where we don't need to be armed or defend ourselves against anything, that all we have to do is call 911 to be protected. And unfortunately, those are the people that are going to be eliminated first when domestic war breaks out.
Well, I mean, you call 911 to solve one of your problems, they're going to show up and shoot your ass. That's pretty much the way it happens now with the cops. They show up and they either kill your dog or tase your kid or shoot you. So,
Yeah. We live in hostile times here in America, and that's very true.
But the hostility is coming from the government itself, okay? The cops are being trained to be scared to death of everyone they come in contact with. That's in their training. It's evident by watching just an average traffic stop. That's all you got to do is watch the video of an average traffic. Even if he doesn't kill the driver, even if he just writes him a ticket or whatever, the hostility from the police force toward the general public, which they are supposed to serve, is just it's. I have no words. I cannot believe that some of these cops are actually still cops. They have no business wearing a badge, period.
Well, and I mean, during the Obama administration as well, there's been many researchers that have, come forward with their research and proved that the majority of people that they actually hire in these job positions, like police officers and EMT workers and such, they have very, very low IQs. And they're also willing to follow orders. So they cannot think for themselves. And they also are in positions where, they are, it's called the Lucifer effect. And actually, Jack Mullen, he actually wrote an article, and it was titled, I'm trying to think what it's titled. I have to pull it up. But anyway, he talks about the Lucifer effect and about how people are, that's something, that is big with these types of personalities. And so it's very scary. And you're right, cops are trained shoot to kill, and that is a TSA. I mean, that was uncovered with the TSA in 2011 when a document came.
And they hire 80 IQ. If you have over an 80 IQ, they don't want you to carry a badge because that means you can think for yourself. They want order followers. They want little drones.
What's that called? That title.
What's that?
Absolutely. I mean, I totally agree with you. And the lower the IQ, the more they're able to be controlled.
Yep.
But the thing is, as well, is that if you probably notice as well as I notice that everybody around us worships the police, and they worship 911, and they worship all of this, I guess the Lucifer effect, infection, and they So that's how they get people. That's how they train people to accept these tyrannical laws and unconstitutional laws of disarming America. They put victims forward, and they use the police, and people worship them as if they're the saviors. But in fact, when things actually when domestic war breaks out here in America, like you said, the cops, a lot of people are afraid of the cops. Like, they know that they're going to come and possibly be shot just by calling the police. And that's really scary because, people forget these are standing armies that they built. This is a standing army that they built here in America. This is not the sheriff that the people elected and appointed deputies.
Crown City Christian in the room had it, just named it perfectly, called them Blue ISIS.
Yeah, the Blue ISIS. That's definitely a good word. And so so anyway, the drug war is definitely it's a way to, what it is that they use the drug war as a way to convince people that we need more troops on the street so that we can fight the bad guy, and the bad guy is the drug dealers. But what they don't understand is that these people, the people that are drug dealers, they're not only the CIA, that's just the upper part of it. I mean, like I said, it's a globally traded commodity, so it goes way, way deeper than what most people think, way bigger than the CIA. But it also is, it's also used by the local, in every single community, in the local counties. They put the drugs on the street by using informants so that they can go out and collect people into the system so they can keep paying the bills. And so if people don't start understanding, I hear people every single day. I heard someone today that I just wanted to slap across the face and be like, wake up, But, like, people think that, like the local person that has overdosed on heroin, that person is the one being blamed, and we should blame that drug dealer that gave them the heroin. But the truth is that, I personally have witnessed where the local law enforcement, they actually put people on the streets to collect people into the drug market, because if they don't, they're out of a job.
Right.
And they also have to keep the Forfeiture Act, which allows them to steal, not only drugs, but guns and anything that's of value from anybody that they collect the drugs from. So this goes way deeper than most people think. And so I did write an article about that. You can go to thegovernmentrag.com and click on my bio. And I wrote an article that's called "To Overthrow a Country is to Weaken It Through Drug Addiction." And I write all about the heroin war and the plot to weaken our youth. And also, I wrote about the history of I wrote about the history of how they've used heroin. I mean, they even used it in the Vietnam War to weaken our troops in the war. The only difference between heroin today and heroin in the Vietnam War is that people did not overdose in Vietnam because it was pure heroin. And people, it was, people knew their limits. But today, heroin is cut with mostly fentanyl and other killers.
Which is why people are dropping dead behind the wheel of their car.
Right. So most people are dying because the pharma drug dealers are putting their drugs into it as well. So anyway, I encourage you to go read that. It's very important. Please share it.
I'll drop the link in the room for everybody.
It also talks about the history. And so we have to rise up against that. And like I said, the mainstream media and the AP press, all they do is put on the front page of every paper every drug overdose, because now Trump, he decides that he wants to seek the death penalty for drug dealers. Well, my question is, who are the drug dealers to him? I mean, Are they people that the informants that they put on the street?
No, Merck,
Or
Eli Lilly. Who else is a big drug manufacturer in the United States? I can't think of any off the top of my head. SmithKline, Bayer. Those are the drug dealers, people. Those are the fucking drug dealers. It's not Joey Bag of Donuts down on the corner slinging dime bags of fucking of weed, right? The drug killers in this country is Big Pharma. More people die at the hands of Big Pharma than anything else in this country, except maybe the cops.
yeah, that is true. And also, I want to tell people as well that, I've personally talked to soldiers that have come back from like the Iraq War and people that have come back from Afghanistan, and like the thing is a lot of these soldiers do have post-traumatic stress disorder, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that, like they go over there and they think they're fighting for Americans and that they're going to go over there and fight, and they're saving our lives because they're going to take over our country and they want freedom for our country. And then they have to go over there and guard poppy fields, and they find out that what they are is guarding the drug dealers, and then they find out that there's all kinds of lies, going on, and so that's one of the sad things that we have to deal with, and they offer, like the job market has grown so tremendously in military, if we end the wars, how many people are out of jobs? That's what people need to understand. We cannot end the wars. It can't be ended. It doesn't seem like there's any way to end it because of the fact that every job is tied to it almost in one way or another.
Yeah, I think there was a little blur between Wolf Blitzer and Rand Paul over that very thing. And after Rand Paul got done with his spiel about why we shouldn't be in any of these wars over in Syria or Iraq or anywhere else, Wolf Blitzer came back and stated that very fact, so it's more about us being nice than jobs, basically. I'm paraphrasing, but that was the whole blast on CNN. It was all over social media for a while, and yeah, so it's all about the money. And if it's not about the money, it's about the money.
And not only do we have to continue our wars, foreign wars, and there has to be all this ridiculous stuff that's going on, but they also are promoting a domestic war. And we see that all the time with all these false flags that are going on, and, disarming America through, basically using victims and, avenues that actually promote, just like in the Las Vegas shooting. I'll give you an example, one of the things that was a direct correlation that I found with the Las Vegas shooting was, it's a way for them to add more jobs in the hotel restaurant industry and other public locations that would be more service jobs and more gun control, and it would also encourage for basically that type of industry to have certain clearances to in order to work in those clearances for more security, which is why it happened at the hotel that it did. And also too, there was a direct correlation with the Sportsman Heritage and Recreational Enhancement Act, also known as the Hearing Protection Act. Following the shooting, it was at the same time hunters were trying to get a law for silencers.
Yeah, to where you didn't have to have a $200 tax stamp to own one.
Yeah, they were trying to get silencers to be able to use silencers so that they could use silencers for hunting, and it's a ridiculous law that's been around forever, and so that was directly tied to that, and of course we have our gun control advocates that are always in the forefront, which you know quite well, Gabrielle Giffords and Mark Kelly, and they were right there at the forefront. They always seem to be at every forefront, as far as the false flags are concerned. And so every single thing, what they've done is they've convinced the nation that guns are a public health crisis. And so what they've done is they've tied gun control, they've tied guns to mental illness. So if people don't understand that, then they're the crazy ones, because what they do is they promote mental health. Like, they put these people that are crazy, or, they're patsies or actors or whatever, and they put them in the forefront during these operations that they do, these false flags. And then the media runs with it as promoting, we need more mental health, we've got to have more gun control. And then the people that are behind the scenes, like average citizens, they get aboard and they say, yeah, we need to pass more laws because we can't have crazy people having guns. Only the stable ones can have guns. But what they're doing is they're actually creating these staged events to promote it as being a public health crisis. I mean, at one time, the gun control used to be in the hands of just the ATF, but now they've turned it over to the Department of Public Health. And so now the Department of Public Health has created these health crises so that we can have more false flags, more praising of the cops, the fire departments, EMS, public health workers, and they all come running to be praised as heroes
for simply doing their job, right? So every cop out there has to be praised as a hero because he showed up for work. I don't think so. Look, Jack, you elected to take that position, right? You wanted to be a police officer, probably because you were picked on in school and shit, and you're just a little bitty turd. But, you chose to be a cop. That doesn't make you a fucking hero when you get in your car and you go out and do your job that you chose. Now, if you run into a burning building and you come out with a child in your arms, then you're a hero, right? So let's wait for that shit to happen before we start praising these fucking people. As a matter of fact, I was just thinking this 15 seconds ago when you were talking. I would love to see every single police officer in this country take a real mental evaluation and see how many of them get fired because they're fucking crazy.
Well, and what they don't tell the majority of people is how many cops actually end up committing suicide or murder people.
Killing their wives, beating their kids, it happens all the time.
Yeah, because they can't stand themselves, because they're in positions that they thought they were going to be, Mayberry police.
Why do you think
they turn out to be trained as anti-American, hating Americans, and they don't like it. So a lot of them do end up killing themselves.
Why do you think that 20 plus, and I think it actually got up over 30 at one point, soldiers that came home from the war were killing themselves every day? It's still 20 plus a day that are killing themselves because they know what they did over in Afghanistan. They know what they did over in Iraq. They know they killed 500,000 innocent children along with 1 million other innocent people. They know what happened over there, and they cannot stand themselves.
Well, and the sad thing is, Jim, is that as soon as they get out of their military service, the police state tries to recruit them so that they can be police officers. So they go into the Army Reserves, or they go in as a police officer so they can continue trying to feel the way that they do, because they're already trained to be. Yeah, it's very sad. Yeah. I mean, I see it every day. I run into people all the time that are police officers or that are former police officers, and they have that same demeanor. They all have the same demeanor.
Yeah, they scoff at you,
And the ones that do understand,
almost every police department out there. I'm sorry, I'm stepping on you. I'm sorry, I shouldn't do that. But almost
the police officers or sheriffs that do understand what's happening, and they don't like what's going on in this nation, are the ones that are born and that live through the. So it's the people that they recruit after that era is, they're the ones that are most vulnerable to being subjected to this type of life, and they don't have any. Like I said, their IQs are very low, and they don't have any ability to have any emotional attachment to anything. So those are the ones that are hired in these positions.
They don't have the ability to critically think for themselves. They follow orders. They're professional order followers because that's all they did over in the sandbox was follow orders and kill people. It's so far out of control in this country right now that, I don't think we'll ever get it back. Not until everything comes apart at the seams, right? There's going to have to be a culling. There's going to have to be blood in the streets. There's going to have to be a revolution in this country before we'll get anything to change, because there are so many apathetic people out there that just don't give a shit unless it's happening in their backyard, right? No one spoke up. No one still no one, maybe 1/100th of this country is fully awake to what's going on. The rest of the people, they just want to watch Monday Night Football and drink a beer. And it's sad. It's really, really sad. I'm going to let my dogs out. I'll be right back.
Okay, are we on break now?
No, keep talking.
Yeah, it's very sad, and I agree with you that most people do just go on with their day, and they don't really think about anything except for getting up in the morning and then going to their job, and then coming home, and throughout the day they don't really think about what's happening because they don't understand what's happening. And the people that do, though, I will say that there is a lot of people that are starting to question things. But
not enough. Not enough. Well, what are they going to do? They're going to tweet out a question to their 100 followers. That doesn't do shit, man. But here's the point that I think everybody's just look. No matter how many people, I think I said this a couple of shows back. No matter how many people show up in Washington, Washington doesn't give a fuck what you think. I don't care if it's 2 million people that show up and try to shut down D.C. They'll all go to jail. The government doesn't give a... They're going to do what they fucking want to do because they know the majority of the country is going to be okay with it. Look, man, Clinton got his dick sucked in the fucking White House and got reelected. That told me right there. That told me right there that this country has been... It's had it. It's had it. Nobody gives a flying fuck about anything that goes on in the government. They just don't. They don't. If they did, the government wouldn't be getting away.
People trust the government. They think the government is good, and
because they've been brainwashed. They've been brainwashed. The fluorides worked. All the GMO foods have worked. The fucking vaccines have worked. The pharma shit has worked. The people, you couldn't find 10 motherfuckers to agree on anything. Not. You go out.
No, I work in an environment where I come across people that are allegedly, high class individuals that are supposed to have high statuses in this world, but 99.5% of them are dumbed down and have no idea what's going on, and they just regurgitate the same stuff they hear, and they think 2 + 2 = 5, and you can't even talk to them because you don't even want to waste your time talking to them because it's a waste of your time to even try to talk to them because they just want to tell you the same garbage, and you're like, look, I don't have time for this stuff. I got to move on. I got better things to do. Like, tell the truth.
Yeah. See, we live in a country where EMTs might make $15 an hour to ride around in an ambulance and save your life, but people like Jake Paul are a multimillionaire. That's the country we live in, people. That ought to just spell it out for you right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And there's more to it. Like, I would like to know what you think about these false flags, Jim. Like, what about the recent one in Parkland? Or even
Parkland, yeah.
Las Vegas.
Parkland was an obvious false flag. There were 2 Broward County sheriffs that actually came out and spoke out about Parkland, and both of them died within days of speaking out. Both of them were in the prime of their life. I think one of them was like 53 and the other guy was 38. They were both beefy looking dudes, purely healthy, but they died of mysterious circumstances. Okay, whatever. The hog kid, I can't wait to see him dead in a pile of his own vomit. The way that the media grabbed a hold. Well, go ahead.
Well, go ahead. You keep going. I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I'm just the way that the media grabbed a hold of that and threw it in everybody's face, and it was nothing but headlines for weeks and weeks, and that should tell everybody right off the bat that it was a false flag. That should tell everybody right off the bat that it was a false flag, because 2 days later there was another school shooting. I think it was in Maryland, and the cop killed the fucking kid or shot him, or I don't know if he killed him or not, but he shot the kid and stopped the shooting, and it didn't get any press coverage. So, it's the obviousness of the controlled media, and it's propaganda. It's all it is propaganda. So that's basically my gist. I mean, these people have heard me rant on this shit for, since I started radio. So I'm sure.
One thing I want to add to
your voice is much more soothing than mine too. So go ahead.
One thing I want to add to what you just said about the false flags and stuff is that, I mean, it goes so deep. I mean, we could, like a lot of the alternative media just regurgitates the same thing, all the crisis actors, all the, blah, blah, blah. But, this actually goes really, really, really deep. And in fact, a lot of the articles that come out that, I don't know if you've noticed or not, but alternative media is now starting to take a divide. Like there's a divide in alternative media.
Everybody thinks their opinion's right, Everybody thinks their opinion's right. Nobody, it's like, everybody wants to have the breaking news story, right? And so they will cut each other's throats, even though they're working on the same team or supposed to be working on the same team, just to get that story. And then they want their narrative of that story to be the only narrative that anybody thinks is right. If you come out with something that's just a smidgen different than what they think, then they're like, no, she might be a truther, but she's just full of shit.
Well, not just full of shit, but they're scared. Yeah. They're scared to actually say who really is doing it.
But the backbiting in the truth movement, quote unquote, the truth movement, the backbiting is becoming sickening. I'll just use that term. I want to get to the meat of the story that you're basically talking about, that you wrote about the what's it say here? Are professional sports sponsoring these false flag events? So tie that up for me. Professional sports teams.
Okay, well, I've actually been researching the idea. I've been tossing the idea around since 2011, since I investigated the Lochner shooting in 2011. And I have noticed over all these years that there is a correlation between professional sports and these false flags. And so, but during the last shooting, the Parkland shooting, I was able to actually tie it together and actually, bring forward some evidence that that there are several of these false flags and other stage events that have similar patterns that are in common. And what they are is professional sports and other familiar sponsors. And so these false flags actually have sponsors behind them. And so I wrote an article, and I do encourage everybody to look at on the governmentrag.com. It's called Are Professional Sports Sponsoring False Flags and School Shootings to Disarm America? And I actually talk about everything from the Parkland shooting, the Tucson shooting, the Sandy Hook shooting. I tie in the Boston bombing. And what I was able to do was find similar patterns in each one of them, including the Las Vegas concert shooting and even Charlottesville. And I was able to tie in professional sports, like, for instance, like the New England Patriots owner. His name is Robert Kraft. And he has showed up in every single false flag. And every time that there's some kind of shooting, he's right there to donate money, donate planes. He was one of the major sponsors and funders behind the March for Our Lives gun control protest in Washington, D.C. And he was also on board with Gabrielle Giffords. And you know, I don't know if do you know who Gabrielle Giffords is?
Yeah, she's the congresswoman that got her head blown off by Lofter.
Right, and it turns out that now she's one of the biggest gun control people, but she was behind that. They actually funded that entire March for Our Lives rally. And then also in the Boston bombing, in the Parkland shooting, you know, the New England's Patriot owner, he lent his plane for all the so-called victims.
To fly him up to New York.
Yeah, and him and Gabrielle Giffords, they actually helped organize and fund the March for Our Lives protest. And then also in the 2001 shooting, this is where I began finding interesting correlations between, you know, who I think are sponsors. And what I mean by sponsors is they actually help fund these false flags. Like in the Tucson shooting, I was able to draw a line with the Philadelphia Phillies and the Los Angeles, the Philadelphia Phillies. Yeah, the Philadelphia Phillies with Dallas Green, who his supposed granddaughter was shot, but the only thing during his, you know, when he spoke to the press, the only thing he actually focused on was more gun control and how to eliminate magazines. And then during the Sandy Hook shooting, we have the Patriots and the Red Sox and the Giants, and the New England Patriots had showed up again. The same owner, you know, he actually has a business there, a big factory in Newtown, and he donated hundreds of thousands of dollars
to pay off everybody's mortgage that was involved with that whole thing. That's all been tracked down.
And he's there to push more gun control. And so, you know, I find an interesting correlation, just like with the Boston bombing. Well, in the Sandy Hook shooting, too, as well, the Red Sox, you know, they always show up in these events as well. And they also showed up in the Boston bombing as well. And, you know, like the New England's Patriot, they had an offensive lineman that just happened to be at the right place at the right time to be the savior, who, when the bomb went off at the finish line, he allegedly carried the injured woman to the finish line. But Joe Andruzzi, who was with the New England Patriots, you know, he was you know, right there, and they were also doing at the finish line. The Red Sox were also doing a fundraiser, and then of course Michelle Obama showed up, and they had her with all the victims. And one of the victims, which I found interesting, her name was Heather Abbott. She was shown in the hospital with Michelle Obama and all these other people, and they were supposedly celebrating Patriots Day and doing a fundraiser for the New England's Patriots for Joe Andruzzi's Cancer Foundation. And she happens to work for Raytheon. And so if you actually follow a lot of these events, if you look behind the scenes, you can actually see that there's sponsors involved. And I actually have wrote several articles about some of the sponsors and how they've changed some of the things, like Walmart. I believe Walmart is a big sponsor in all these false flags, and they've been able to change lots of gun laws without even changing the laws. They just said, hey, we're not going to sell guns anymore to anybody under the age of 21. And, you know, they've been able to do a lot of things. Sportsman's Warehouse and other places have been really shady behind the scenes as far as trying to, you know, tie all this together. But also, too, you know, the New England's Patriot owner, Robert Kraft, you know, he also, after the Sandy Hook shooting, he also donated $6 million for Israel's first American football stadium, which I found interesting, you know. So then he flies all these NFL Hall of Famers in so that they can visit the Kraft Stadium in Israel.
Don't they tax the American people every time they want to build one here? They don't.
Yeah,
they don't just
if you go to
fork
any
the money.
city and drive on the interstate, you'll go through every stadium. It doesn't matter if it's owned by an oil company or somebody, but they all seem to be, you know, Jewish owners.
But they're taxpayer funded here. You know, they add a tax on to the people to get the stadiums built, telling them that it's going to bring more money into the fucking economy. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen Bob Kraft dig in his pocket to build a stadium in the U.S.
Well, I mean, and the point is, too, and another thing I want to say, you know, before we run out of time, is that in this article that I wrote as well, there's also many other researchers that have brought forth the fact that in a lot of staged events, Nike has also showed up, like Nike shoes.
Yeah.
And so
Ben and
they
Jerry's.
showed up in these false flags. Mostly the shoes are Nike, but there's also others too. But there's many pictures that show, like even in the death of Judge John Roll, who was the Brady Bill judge who was killed allegedly by Jared Lee Loughner. And
he was the intended target, by the way, everybody. If you guys didn't know that, you should.
There was a pair of Nike shoes that they had, you know, in his memorial. And so, anyway, it's very interesting. Go to thegovernmentrag.com, visit that article, our professional sports sponsoring these false flag shootings, and look at this stuff and question it and start thinking about things like who is paying for all of this stuff. Even in the Charlottesville event, you know, like there's a picture of the car and then there's a Nike shoe like flying in front of it. And I mean, there's a lot of people that, you know, and then we got Gabrielle Giffords and Mark Kelly. They're being put out in the front as the heroes. And I gotta
throw this in. I gotta throw this in really quick. Gabby Giffords, that is some of the worst acting I have ever seen in my life. When she talks in front of public and plays her little, you know, brain dead Barbie routine, that is some of the worst acting I have ever seen.
Well, then I have actually impacted you, haven't I, Jim?
Oh my God! The Loughner article that you did, proving that the judge was the actual target of that shooting, and I still, for the life of me, I don't believe that Gabby Gifford got shot in the head. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Whatever, you know, the scar, or whatever. She might have got grazed by a bullet. She didn't take a bullet to the brain like they said. I don't believe it. But yeah, the article that you wrote that proved that the judge was the actual target of that whole assassination, that false flag shooting, whatever you want to call it, that was just a mind blower. So if you people dig around on her site and find that Loughner article, I don't remember the title to it, but damn, that's a good read, y'all.
I think it was called "So Long, Loughner: A Life Sentence for a Framed Patsy."
There you go. Find that one, because man, that's a mind blower. It'll make your eyes open up.
You know, and there's other things too. You know, like we it's more than just the false flags, but you know, like what's happening in this country is the fact that not only do they want to get rid of guns, like it's most important for people to understand that they don't want to just eliminate the weapons. They want to rewrite the Second Amendment, but they're also doing it in correlation with trying to get rid of the First Amendment. Yep.
We're seeing that take place on YouTube and Google daily. people's channels getting taken down, videos getting deleted for no reason whatsoever. Really coming down on all the gun channels. Anybody that does any kind of gun reviews or anything, I mean, it's getting ridiculous. They're even hitting channels like Wrangler Star for that guy he's nothing but a homesteader, him and his family, but they're a Christian family, right? So they got to shut them up. Now, yeah, we're not going to go into that, but okay.
Well,
so we got like 27 minutes left, and there's one more article that you sent me that's about the Vegas shooting and how it joins in with the SHARE Act. Why don't we dive into that one really quick?
okay, well, this article is very, very, very important. In fact, it's very important because it has a direct correlation between how there's profits that are being made off of what's happening with these false flags. And what I do in this article, in fact, I wrote this article, and then it's actually going to be published in one of Jim Fetzer's books, and I actually have we've actually tied it in with Jack Mullen's article, and what it does is it actually ties in the correlation between how they make money off of these things. And so what I did was I wrote about how the awakening of the fact that Richard Carmona, if people don't know who Richard Carmona is, Richard Carmona was the 17th Surgeon General of the United States of America. And he's considered a twofold man. He's labeled as Mr. Taser and Dr. Clorox. So Mr. Taser and Dr. Clorox. And I started researching him following the 2011 shooting in Tucson, and I realized that this is when they actually turned over the gun confiscation to the hands of the Department of Public Health, and that's when they started making it a public health crisis, and then that's when they started faking all these events so that they could make it a public health crisis, which is what they're doing, and they've tied in all this mental illness. But one of the things that I learned during all of this research that I put into this article, and it's more than just about the SHARE Act. The SHARE Act is about the silencers and how Gabrielle Kelly came out after the Las Vegas shooting, and they targeted the silencers, and then they also targeted the bump stocks.
They actually got that done. The silencer thing is still up in the air. They're still debating on the silencer thing, but the bump stock deal is a done deal, folks.
I mean, Trump came right into office and said we're banning the bump stocks.
Yep.
And it wasn't even used during that event, and neither was the silencer. But they targeted those accessories during that event. And so anyway, I researched Dr. Richard Carmona, but what he was is he's actually the Surgeon General that actually built the police state here in America. Like, he actually combined health with guns. And what he did was he was actually a founding director of regional trauma centers, and he also was the biggest national SWAT officer that actually taught. He actually taught all of the national tactical EMS emergency preparedness tactics. And what he did was he was actually the man that taught all of these people shoot to kill. That's why we have these SWAT teams. And then also, as far as him being called Dr. Clorox, he's also, as far as Dr. Clorox, he had made millions of dollars in not only the Clorox industry, but as he worked for Pima County Sheriff's Department, which is where the shooting happened, where the Lochner shooting happened, and he prepared the entire Pima County Sheriff's Office for their emergency preparedness and special ops. But one of the things that I found out about him was he also had a giant interest and investment in the taser industry. So not only was he training the, shoot to kill SWAT ops, but he was also making money off of supplying every single police station in the United States with tasers. And so anyway, I found that interesting. And then we continue to move on in the article, but Jack had found a direct correlation of profitable connection to false flags and body scanners following the Las Vegas shooting to Michael Chertoff and the Chertoff group, and who he also is a dual citizen, Israeli U.S. citizen, and he's also the former Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. And so Michael Chertoff, he was one of the authors of the Patriot Act. And so he made millions of dollars representing the manufacturer of body scanners. And, he was contracted by the TSA following, I believe, the underwear bombing. And that led to the justification of why every airport traveler why every airport was, fixed with all their scanners and such. So if you actually read this article, and it's called, go to the governmentrag.com, it's called The Correlation Between the Las Vegas Shooting and the SHARE Act, and you can actually see the connection, like a lot of what is happening, if you look at who's behind the scenes, they all have financial investments in making this a bigger police state. And so anyway, Michael Chertoff is definitely involved in this. He's made millions of dollars off of body scanners, and he's also played, a giant role in imprisoning this nation by using terror, against us. And so has other people, including Richard Carmona, who was the 17th Surgeon General. And so anyway, these are the types of things that when we hear about these false flags, the majority of people behind the scenes, they only look at, either what is going on in the mainstream media, or the people that are trying to find out and they're looking at alternative media, they're only focusing on like the crisis actors or, minute things, in my opinion, when there are actually people behind the scenes that are setting up. But these people are heavily invested in, it's clear through the Obama administration and obviously through the Trump administration that the medical agenda of mental illness, gun control, and more national security is the agenda. People, we are entirely, we're imprisoning ourselves.
We're being trolled. We're being trolled by our government. They perpetrate themselves as being caring and benevolent when that is exactly the opposite of what they really are. They couldn't give a shit about anybody in this country unless you go to work and pay taxes. And that's all they want you to do. They want you to go to work and pay taxes and shut the fuck up. They don't want you to question anything they do. They don't want you to try to collectively get together and think things out for yourselves. They want you to just sit on your ass, on your couch, watch your TV, drink your fluoride, and go to work and pay taxes. That's it.
Well, that's what everybody's doing, Jim.
Not this motherfucker. Not this motherfucker. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. This is what everybody's got to get their grip around, man. And half the truth community out there are still half asleep, and that makes them dangerous, because they think they're awake, but they're not. Look, okay, I want to get your opinion on this too. What do you think of Q? Are you aware of the whole QAnon bullshit? Okay,
I am.
Give me your lowdown.
I'm probably going to be one of these people that get bitched at for saying this, but I think Q is just another distraction.
Yep.
And I think that it's no different.
Yeah, well, Q has been dropping quote-unquote truths on the people that are following him that we've been talking about for over a decade, okay? The pedophilia, the Luciferian doctrine that everybody... We've been talking about this for years and years and years. Okay, but now these Q followers, right, all these Q followers, they're zealots, just like the leftists. Right? I mean, they're completely. If there's going to be if they ever do anything to Trump, if they ever try to assassinate him or something like that, there's going to be a civil war in this country, and it's going to be between the Q followers and Antifa. So that's just my take on shit. Okay, but the Q followers now, they all think that they're awake, and they're not. They're still stuck in the left-right paradigm. They think that Trump is the savior of the fucking country, and they're going to think that all the way until they get shoved in the fucking FEMA camp, right? This is the mentality of 90% of this country. 90%. You still got people out there that think that Hillary Clinton is the best thing since sliced bread.
Well, that's because they're just, I mean, they want to die in the end.
Fucking brain dead. They're brain dead. They're brainwashed into believing everything that the mainstream media spoon feeds them on their nightly news. And, you know, for the majority of this country to be that far up their own ass means that we're done as a nation. We're done.
But, you know, it only takes a small majority to overthrow all of the evil. And, you know, the thing is that, you know, our founding forefathers, you know, like they did warn of all this. And there is still hope for America. It's just that people have to play their part into being able to spread the word. And, you know, like people like you and I and other alternative medias that are actually telling the truth. They're not just telling half truths. You know, they are actually making an impact. Like, you know, there's people that have been following, you know, the alternative media that they want to believe, but then they get to the point where they're just like, I just don't feel in my heart that it's completely true. So they go dig deeper. And so anyway, I'm on board with as deep as it goes. I mean, we've been targeted at the government rag. We've been targeted, you know, as far as
numerous times. How many times has your site been taken down?
Well, I mean, our site hasn't been taken down, but like our writers, like Jack Boland's Facebook page has been taken down for sharing things. I've been personally threatened, like physically threatened. Like, I mean, I've been told they're going to come put me in a trash can. And I have people that are constantly, you know, like threatening me on Twitter, Facebook. And it's not just like, you know, I mean, these are people that are like, they purposely set up accounts so that they can try to intimidate me. But they do threaten me, you know. They tell me that, you know, I'm going to end up in a trash can and stuff like that. But the thing is, though, is that what do I have to lose? I mean, I have children, and my children and my grandchildren and my great grandchildren that I will someday have and stuff, like, I have to think about them, and, you know, the fact now that I was born into this world to be a part of this fight. And, you know, I may not be someone that can be physically, you know, very good at fighting, but I can open my mouth, and I still have that right to be, you know, someone that can say what I think and tell the truth. And, you know, if I end up in a trash can, it'll be because of that. And so anyway, I don't care about those assholes that threaten me. I care about my love for my country and the fact that I grew up in a family that has moral values and people that are moral, that actually think about, you know, being, you know, what our forefathers wanted, what America was supposed to be. And so anyway, I I know in my heart that more and more people are waking up, but I also know in my heart that it's only going to be the very few majority that actually are going to be the ones that say enough is enough. And I think about that, like, when are people going to, if someone comes to their door and says, you know, you're going to surrender your weapons or not, like, I mean, are those, unfortunately, the majority of people that say, come and take them are the ones that are they're going to surrender their weapons first, because they're just all talk, but there is going to be a point where there's going to be a divide in this nation, and people are going to have to take sides, and it's going to be an ugly war. And I don't think it's going to be peaceful. Like, there's people out there. I mean, they've completely controlled the younger generation, and the younger generation, is mind controlled through education, and they've turned them even against their own parents. And so, I mean, there is going to come a time, I think, where, there's going to be, the first shot is going to be fired again, and people are going to have to take sides. And unfortunately, as well as media, like, people are taking sides in media right now. There's people that know that the mainstream media is liars, and they know that the alternative media is trying to tell the truth, but they also know there's also a divide going on where they know that the alternative media is actually being divided, because there's people in alternative media that they're making money, and they'll tell half the truth, but they're not going to tell all the truth. And then there's people that are going to tell all the truth, and they're going to be the targets. And unfortunately, it's people like the governmentrag.com that is going to be the target, people like you and others. And so, anyway, this is a time in America where, there's going to be people are going to rise up here soon, and the financial collapse. Like, I think that it's just unbelievable that the majority of people that I talk to throughout my regular day, they believe that the economy is going to get better, but in reality, the financial collapse is coming faster than ever. And you can see it every single day. I mean, you drive around in any neighborhood, in any community, and there's foreclosures everywhere. Everybody's got their house for sale. I mean, the price of food is outrageous. You can't even go out to eat anymore. Nobody can afford their payments. They got to choose between paying their electric bill or their gas bill this month. And then there's people that are like, oh no, but Trump says we're getting better, and Obama says we're getting better, and people think that, the economy is getting better. But in reality, the banksters have stolen everything in this country, and the fiat money system is failing.
What are your thoughts on the cryptocurrency craze that's going on right now? Everybody diving into cryptos.
Well, I think that cryptocurrencies are very important for people to invest in. And I also think that it's very important for it to pursue, so that the fiat money system, the central banking cartel, can actually fail. And they need to fail. Well, let's make them fail.
I'm completely the opposite of you on this. No offense, but I think that cryptos, and when you're talking about fiat currencies, cryptos are fiat too. They're just a digital number, right? But the thing, when you see something like Bitcoin and Litecoin and Tether and whatever the fuck else, I mean, there's all kinds of Bitcoin Cash now. They all been doing the splits, and they're being traded on the stock market. They have futures trades on them now, so they are completely corrupted, just like everything else. The cryptocurrencies can be turned off like a switch. No matter how much money you have invested, no matter where your wallet's at, no matter what, all they have to do is turn off your power and you're fucked.
Now, I'm going to have to disagree with you. And the reason why is because I have I encourage you to go read a couple of articles. One is from Jack Mullen on the governmentrag.com, and he wrote an article, and it's called Crypto Liberty. The call has been issued, End Central Banking Now. And it explains all those things. It explains a lot of things about the criminal racketeering, the counterfeiting, the wealth stealing, the money laundering, everything that is going on in this situation right now. And it talks about the cryptocurrencies, and also too, there's another article that he wrote, and I think it's called like the Bankers Panic 400-year-old banking swindle, which if you go to thegovernmentrag.com, you can click on his bio and you can read these articles. But he writes a lot about the banking cartel and also cryptocurrencies as well. And it is really important to understand that, you know, like as far as cryptocurrencies, like you know, how they actually are detached from the central banking cartel. So I do disagree with you on that, and I do encourage other people to learn more about cryptocurrencies. But the place to start is to go to Jack Mullen's bio on the governmentrag.com, because you will get a deep understanding of how cryptocurrencies work, and also how the banksters, you know, how they're running things, and how also this is very destructive in America. So anyway, we may disagree with that. So, but it is important I think it's important for people to get off. It's time for us to end the fiat money banking cartel.
There's no better way to end it than to not use money. Period. I don't give a shit if it's dollars, dinero, cryptos, what, I don't give a fuck what. Barter, trade, utilize your skill sets, just eliminate money from your life. Eliminate money from your life. It will make so much, there would be so much peace if there was no money, because the root of all evil is money.
That's what they say. The root of all evil is money, and I believe that. But I'm telling you, girl, the crypto stuff. I'm telling you, and this is how I know that it is completely manipulated, because they have even super intelligent, well-grounded, woke people wrapped up in this fucking shit, and they are going to take all of your money. When push comes to shove, everybody that's invested in cryptos, you heard it here first, folks. Probably not, but I'd like to say that anyway. Everyone that is invested in cryptos, if you do not get out, they are going to take all of your money. It's already happened to several hundred people. The articles are online. You can find them. People have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Bitcoin, Litecoin, whatever, with just a simple oops on a computer. Whoops. This exchange went down. You guys just lost all your shit. Sorry. And they never get it back. Now, I do want to say that I know we're running out of time, but I want to make I want to say that all wars are bankers' wars.
Yep.
And so the time now is to end the central banking and debt-based currencies.
But they'll end themselves. And
they're just parasites, and that's what they do. All it is a silent war that's in progress, and mankind is at stake over it, which is why we say that, you know, about money. And the central banking is all it is a parasite. It's a cancer on civilization.
Yep.
And it basically just enables the most evil to rise, and people are forced to live under the conditions of that. And so anyway, central banking is responsible for all wars.
Oh, yeah.
All of it.
They're all financed out of the city of London.
And so, anyway, I really enjoyed my talk with you, Jim. It's been a really long time.
Yeah, it has. We got to do it more often for sure. Next time, see if you can get Jack to come on. You know?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he would love to come on.
The two of you guys going back and forth on, on the show would be awesome, for sure. I appreciate your time tonight. I really do. I'm sorry I stepped on a little bit of it. I promised you 90 minutes, and I kind of ate 15 of it, but shit happens.
Oh, no, it's okay. I totally had a good time, and we got a lot talked about, and I hope your audience enjoyed everything. And like I always encourage, you. I like your radio show. I do listen to you, and even though I don't always tell you I do, I have an alarm set for you. And I do enjoy your show, and, I wish you, I hope that you can grow bigger just simply because that you are someone that really does dive deep into the truth, and you don't care about what other people say, which is really good. And I'm the same way. So anyway, I want to.
I don't know if I want to get any bigger though, because the big nails get hammered first. I kind of like my 200 or 300 subscribers because I know that the people that listen to me are some of that 1% that are truly woke. You know what I mean? If I had 500,000 subscribers, I know that the majority of the people that are listening to me really don't get what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So I like being small. I like being small. I'm a gray man anyway. I try to stay under the radar as much as possible. Except for a couple hours every Wednesday. But hey.
Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you following us me, and I, have always enjoyed your friendship. We've been friends for a really long time, and I'm going to get back down to the Ozarks, and I would like to meet you in person.
Yep, I live in Mountain Home, Arkansas, just south of the border of Missouri. So I'm right in between two beautiful lakes and a couple of rivers, and come on down. We'll take the boat out and have a good time.
My favorite place is Eureka Springs. That's an awesome place.
Yep, like that too.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you, Jim.
Thanks very much.
Thank you to your audience as well for sticking with us, and I appreciate it, and I wish you luck, and I'll be back on your show, and I would like to, we're interviewing people now too, so I'd like to maybe think about interviewing you in the future as well about your thoughts about things.
Absolutely. I'm game. I'm game for that. All right. So, thegovernmentrag.com, everybody. Go over there, check out Stephanie's site. Jack Mullen puts out some good articles all the time. Stephanie puts out good articles all the time. You're not gonna be disappointed when you hit that site and start reading. David, is there any breaking news right at the end of the show that you want to drop on us?
Yeah, this is hilarious. Rudy Giuliani was just getting interviewed by Hannity from Fox News, and he admitted that Trump paid back his lawyer that $130,000 for that porn star that Trump said that he didn't know nothing about. Rudy Giuliani admitted it live on air. And then he also said that Trump fired Comey because Comey wouldn't tell Trump he wasn't a target at the FBI's investigation. Giuliani came out and just outed Trump tonight live on Hannity. Outed him because Trump has been denying that he knew anything about this $130,000. And here Giuliani says, Trump paid him back.
Damn.
It's all over the news, dude. Giuliani just hurt Trump bad.
Yeah, he'll probably be breathing.
He just got brought onto Trump's legal team too.
He'll probably be breathing out of the bottom side of his neck here for too long.
I think Giuliani will be stepping down soon. He just got hired too.
Well, hey, that's what Trump's been going, for the last year and a half. Is just hire this, fire this, hire this, fire this. Yeah.
Well, when you're a New York City loudmouth like Trump, that's what you get.
Right. And Giuliani's probably got some dirt on him that nobody knows about, and blah blah blah. Who cares?
It's hilarious.
But I'm telling you, if they take Trump out of office, man, these fucking trumpets are going to go crazy in this country. They're going to go crazy. They'll be rioting just like Antifa riots. So,
It's what the bankers want and the New World Order wants.
Yeah. But, and Stephanie, just to come back to you really quick for 1 second, I don't know if you hung up or not, but I hope you're still listening.
I'm still here.
Okay. When you say that you have hope for this country, I have to tell you, even as much as I want to have hope for this country, that it can come back from the brink that it's sitting on right now, I fear that we are going to be ass deep in World War before that's able to take place. And once we're ass deep in World War, it's not going to happen after that.
Well, and I'm afraid that you might be right, because not only they may defeat us in having all these foreign wars where they are recruiting all of our children away to foreign lands, but then at the same time we're going to have a civil war at the same time. So anyway, this is going to be brutal.
I still feel like the rest of the world is done with us. I think that there's going to come a time when we're either taking strikes in this country from other countries, or we're actually trying to fight off an invasion. Because I think that the rest of the world, the majority of the rest of the world, is done with our hegemony. They're done with our world bullying, and they're going to let us have it right in the teeth.
Well, let me just say one last thing to wrap this up. Sure. I want to let you know, Jim, we have already been set up to be destroyed. Like during the Obama administration, he opened the borders and he let all the Middle Easterns in. They hate Americans. We destroyed their countries. Yep. And so he let them in, gave them free education. They did not leave America. So all the fighting age men were led into this country from other countries that hate Americans. They are already here. They are already being plotted. We are going to be slaughtered from the inside out. That's why we have to understand, what it is that's going on. And so, anyway, I'm scared for America, but I'm also scared for our children and stuff. But we've already been set up to. We've already been infiltrated.
Yep, death by 1,000 cuts is what they call it. Okay, I'm going to end it now.
Thank you, Jim.
Hey, thanks very much, Stephanie. I appreciate it, and I hope I get you back on here real soon. Thanks, David, to you as well. Yeah. And thanks to everybody out there listening. I appreciate all you guys every week, even though I don't show up every week now because I'm kind of lazy and got other shit going on. But life happens, so there is that. I'm probably going to start hitting it a little more often, though, because things are getting pretty thick out there. So thank you again, Stephanie. The governmentrag.com people, go over there and check that site out and give her some love. David, I appreciate you too. I'm going to hang up on you guys now and end the show.
Night.
Whoops. He said goodnight. So did Stephanie. Everybody says goodnight. Good night. All right. We'll see you guys on next Wednesday. I'm going to hit this little button over here and play this song out and seek the face of God, people. Times are really, really ugly right now. Seek the face of God. He's got your back.
Small Nom, nom, nom.